Good morning, children. We are continuing the chapter molecular basis of inheritance. Now, we are studying the contribution of Erwin Chargaff. Erwin Chargaff. Erwin Chargaff was a scientist who identified that the ratio of adenine and thymine. Adenine and thymine in a DNA is equal. And he also found out that not only adenine and thymine, guanine cytosine also equal. It means that if 10% of adenine, there would be 10 equal percentage of thymine. Then if guanine and thymine and adenine and thymine suppose 20% total, then what would be the percentage of the guanine and cytosine? It would be 80%. So this is a very important discovery as far as the DNA is concerned. Okay. So adenine and thymine, the ratio of adenine and thymine is equal always in a DNA molecule. Adenine 10%. If adenine is 10%, then thymine also would be 10%. If guanine is 10%, then cytosine is also 10%. If adenine and thymine together 20%, then what would be the percentage of guanine and cytosine? Remaining 80%. Okay. Now we are coming to the packaging of DNA. How is DNA packed inside the cell? Packaging of DNA. The human DNA is approximately 2 meters in length. This long DNA molecule, thousands and lakhs of DNA molecules, to be tightly or compactly packed in the chromosome inside the nucleus. So what happens, this DNA, which is almost having 2 meters in length, is compactly packed in such a way that DNA being negatively charged. What is the charge of the DNA? Negative charge. DNA is a negative charge nucleic acid. Okay. Then in a chromosome or in a non-dividing cell, the chromosomes are found in the form of chromatin thread. What is this? Chromatin thread. So in a non-dividing cell, the chromosomes are found in the form of a chromatin thread. Now, you can understand that if you see through the microscope, you can see instead of thread, you can see large number of beads-like structures. Large number of beads-like structures you can observe. Large number of beads-like structures. Bead. Just like beads on a string, they are arranged. Beads-like structure. So how these beads-like structure arranged? Beads-like structures are arranged in a definite manner. Suppose if you again study details, the beads-like structure, each bead-like structure is called a nucleosome. So if I draw a nucleosome, you can see at the center of the nucleosome, you can see histone protein. That is called a basic protein. Histone proteins are basic proteins. So histone proteins are found or arranged in 8 numbers. 8 number. So histone protein, that are basic proteins, are arranged how many numbers? 8 numbers. So that form histone octamer. So in a nucleosome, there is a central core of histone octamer. Means 8 histone basic proteins are arranged compactly, around which the negatively charged DNA is wrapped around. The negatively charged DNA is wrapped. You can see negatively charged DNA is wrapped around. Negatively charged DNA is wrapped around. This form the nucleosome. a single nucleosome. Like that, hundreds and thousands of nucleosomes are arranged in the chromatin fiber before the cell divide. But once the cell divide, the chromatin thread become chromosome, rod-like structure chromosome. So in a nucleus, the DNA is compactly arranged and wrapped around what is called histone octamer. Now, interestingly, if you see, there are two types of chromatin, euchromatin and heterochromatin. There are two types of chromatin, heterochromatin. Euchromatin is a loosely arranged and light stained. Loosely arranged light stained chromatin is called euchromatin, which are transcriptionally active chromatin. Transcriptionally active. Transcriptionally active euchromatin. Whereas heterochromatin are, you can see, they are very tightly packed. They are very tightly packed and dark stained, heterochromatin, which are transcriptionally not so active. So there are two types of chromatin, euchromatin and heterochromatin. Euchromatin is light stained and loosely packed, which is transcriptionally active. Whereas heterochromatin is tightly packed and tightly stained or darkly stained, which is transcriptionally not so active. Now we are coming to the next subtopic, that is why DNA is stable molecule. DNA is stable molecule because of three reasons. DNA is stabler than RNA. First reason why DNA is stabler, it is not a catalyst. It cannot catalyze a chemical reaction. Catalyst, it is not a catalyst. No, DNA is not a catalyst. Catalysts are more reactive, but RNA is catalyst. That's why they are reactive and unstable. Second reason, in DNA, we cannot find no OH group in the second carbon of ribose sugar. No OH group in the second carbon of ribose sugar. Here we can see OH group is there in the second carbon. Now third important reason why the DNA is more stable is presence of thymine. Presence of thymine instead of uracil. Uracil is also called 5-methyl uracil, which is more active chemical, so more reactive. Uracil is more reactive than thymine. And fourth reason, being double helical structure, they are combined by hydrogen bonds. So hydrogen bonds provide stability to DNA. Thymine provide more stability to DNA. Absence of OH group provide more stability to DNA. And DNA is not a catalyst, hence it is stabler and less reactive than RNA. So these are the reasons why the DNA is stabler than RNA. Now the next subtopic, the search for DNA material. Till 1800 or 18th century, there was no idea of what is DNA, really protein or DNA or RNA. Now, Frederick Griffith, a scientist called Frederick Griffith, he inquired about this. What was the actual DNA, actual genetic material, either DNA or protein? He made a simple experiment. He was studying or experimenting with the Diplococcus pneumoniae bacteria. Diplococcus Diplococcus pneumonia bacteria. This Diplococcus pneumonia bacteria are two strains. That is S strain bacteria and another one is R strain bacteria. X strain bacteria cause pneumonia in organism. Pneumonia. Because in this S strain bacteria there is a very thin polysaccharide coat. Thin polysaccharide coat. So they have a smooth. What is the name? What is the full form of a smooth wall? They are pneumonia causing or pathogenic. Now the SR strain, if you take this bacteria has a very thick polysaccharide coat around it. It is non-virulent or non-pathogenic. It does not cause no pneumonia. It does not cause pneumonia. So what he did, he injected this S strain bacteria into mice. But mice developed pneumonia and died. Now in the second step, he injected R strain bacteria, rough strain bacteria to the mice. Mice did not develop pneumonia. Now in the third step, what he did, he heat killed S type bacteria. He heat killed S type bacteria mixed with leaving R bacteria. What happens? To our general sense or common sense, we can understand that because of S bacteria which cause pneumonia is being heat killed, and R strain does not cause pneumonia. So what happened, S strain being pathogenic and it is heat killed, it will not develop pneumonia, we thought so. But to his surprise, the mice developed pneumonia and died. Mice developed pneumonia and died. The reason is that, but something even after heat killing, certain transforming factors, certain transforming principle from S heat killed S type transformed R type into S type pathogenic S type bacteria. So what happens, some transforming principle from heat killed S type bacteria transformed R type bacteria into S type bacteria. This is what is called a transforming principle. It is a very important discovery in the research of genetic material, transforming principle. Okay, transforming principle. So heat killed S type bacteria, some transforming principle transformed R type, leaving R type back in S type, and mice developed pneumonia and died. Later on, three scientists called Avery, MacLeod and McCarthy. Three scientists, Avery, MacLeod and McCarthy. Three scientists. They experimented on this transforming principle. And understood that DNA is the genetic material. What was the discovery? What was the experiment of this Avery, MacLeod and McCarthy? Avery, MacLeod and McCarthy first took that heat killed S type bacteria. Heat killed S bacteria they took. Then they combined with added the protease enzyme. So after treating this heat killed S type bacteria with the protease, what happened? Transformation took place. Transformation took place. Now again they took another sample of heat-killed S bacteria and mixed with the RNase enzyme. RNase enzyme. Now this time also transformation took place. You know why transformation took place? Because protease is an enzyme that only dissolve the protein component of S bacteria, heat-killed S bacteria. DNA being stable. DNA is there intact. Heat-killed DNA is there intact. That DNA could be able to transform the R type into S type. So R type into here R type bacteria transformed into S type. Here also the RNase enzyme, RNA, whatever the RNA is, there only RNA is dissolved and digested. DNA is stable here or intact here. So what happened? RNA transform because of the DNA present, the DNA transformed the R type bacteria into S type. And the transformation took place. But here, in the third step, heat-killed S type of bacteria, heat-killed S type bacteria when treated with a DNase enzyme, DNase enzyme. The DNA dissolved the DNA of this DNase enzyme, dissolved the DNA of the heat-killed S type bacteria, and no transformation took place here. No transformation. No transformation of R type into S type. So from these three simple activities, we can understand that DNA, when they use the DNase enzyme, it will dissolve the DNA of heat-killed S type bacteria. So there is no DNA to transform RNA R bacteria into S type bacteria. Okay, in the medium. So RNA, when they use the DNase enzyme, the transformation, no transformation took place. It proves that DNA is the genetic material, not RNA, no proteins. So proteins and RNAs are not genetic material. Here transforming principle was mainly due to only because of the DNA of heat-killed S type of bacteria.